everybody, we're back. Woo! Welcome to All the Things. I am Monique Duson.
And I am Krista Bontrager, also known as Theology Mom.
We've been on 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Kind of a little mini sabbatical. My earring is glowing. I got to get it going the right direction there.
I want to do like a we're back dance. Like, we're back. Oh, we're back. Hey, y'all remember that? We back. Yes, it is so good to be back. This is the show where we discuss all things related to God, life, and the Bible from a historically Christian worldview.
And we missed on some big events that happened while we were gone. The world lost its mind.
The world lost its mind. We were gone for 2 weeks, and the world went topsy-turvy.
We kept saying that would be a good topic, but we're not having a show this week.
Yes, there were a few good things, and we've selected out a couple of those things.
Yeah,
but before we get into that, make sure if you're on Facebook or YouTube, like us, share us, and get in that chat box.
Click on that share button right now.
Yeah.
As the Spirit leads you, just go.
And even if it don't lead you, just do it. There have been so many things I have done that the Spirit has not led me to do. Just do it. Just push that share button.
That's right. And helping us behind the scenes tonight is our fearless leader, Bob, official button pusher of all the things. Oh. And in the background there is Abby. And
hello.
Hello.
Okay, is this working?
Yeah, I hope so. Abby's getting some more pictures of us behind the scenes and helping with the soundboard. So we're doing big things here in our living room.
Yes, because,
our former schoolroom, now living room. So, and we do want to encourage you to support our show sponsor, Family 210 Clothing, which does not stand for the 210 freeway, my friends.
No,
it is, and it's not an area code. It is based on Ephesians 2:10, and go browse Bob's designs. Bob, do you have a design of the week to tell us about?
Indeed, I do. Today's design is, let's see if I can pull it up here. There we go. Hallelujah more, worry less. So this design is something you can proudly wear, knowing that you're not going to worry about things. You're just going to praise the Lord. So,
and based on, is it 1 Thessalonians 5:16?
That's what it says. Yes, Thessalonians 5:16. Oh, that's a type. I should say 1 Thessalonians. Thank you.
Okay.
Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and everything give thanks. For this is God's will in Christ for you. So there we go.
There we go. I feel like that could be like a song. Like if I was in church, I'd be like, hey, hallelujah more, worry less, hey. I don't know. That's just, I don't know. It's one of them days when I need to hallelujah a little bit more.
That's
Keep
right.
me close to the cross, y'all. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of things to browse there in the shop, and we are now also on Amazon. We have selected styles on Amazon. So if people are on Amazon, they can catch
just
it there.
Just search for Family 210 on Amazon. You'll find us.
Cool.
Yes. Next week, I'm going to wear my shirt. I forgot to wear it this week, and it would have clashed with my lipstick anyway. But next week, I'm going to have my Family 210 shirt on. I love it.
And we do appreciate all your support. It's a very practical way to help support what we're doing here at All the Things.
Yeah.
So, and just helping continue to help us invest in expanding the show, making it better, improving our process, and
keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on,
folks. Yes. Let's be real. Keep the lights on. Okay, we got to have real talk. We need like a family discussion. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Before we get into the show, we do have a big announcement.
We do.
Yes. Drum roll, please. I don't really know if that's a drum, but that's kind of my rumpa-pom-pom drum.
All right.
We're going to be talking at the WIA conference. And if you don't know what WIA stands for, it stands for Women in Apologetics. They have an annual conference held at Biola University in January. This year, it's the 24th and 25th.
It's coming up quick, even though it's kind of like, oh, it's in January. It's next year. It's really...
No. Next year is right now.
Right now. And now is the best time to get the lowest price. Mm-hmm. So... Monique and I are going to be doing a little dog and pony show on critical race theory.
There it is.
We're going to try to do something together. I've never in 25 years of teaching ever done something with someone else. So we'll see how that goes.
You know, me either. So, hey.
I know we're both very mouthy and opinionated. So we'll see.
That's very true. That's very true. And yet here we are.
I know.
Look at us.
And
congratulations.
Thanks to our friend Jane Pantig, who's giving us a warm-up event tomorrow night, also at Biola with her Ratio Christi group. We'll be speaking tomorrow night at Biola. Or not tomorrow night. Monday night.
Yes.
And so
Sunday we will rest.
Yes. Try to finish the talk, getting it together.
That's code for prep.
Yeah. But that's going to be sort of our warm-up event is on Monday night. So if anyone lives in the Biola vicinity and you want to jump in and join us on Monday night, you can do that. You can look up the Biola Ratio Christi group. But now is the best time to register for WIA.
What's the website? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's womeninapologetics.com, and you can go there and get the best price. Oh, there I am, right there on the end.
Yes, that's from last year.
That's from last year when I was the plenary speaker, and they made me wear that microphone over my ear. That was fun. But yeah, it's a great time. Bring yourself, bring your teenagers. And it's not just for women. It's just that there's women speakers there. Yeah. But men are welcome. It's not a women's conference, although the majority of the people are women. There I am again. I guess I'm on the banner.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, you are.
So it's womeninapologetics.com.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Check it out. You can see some of the topics and some of the other speakers that will be there. Yeah. People who will be leading breakouts.
Some of the people that have been on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've really loved the show, it's going to be a great time because a lot of our friends from WIA are there. Okay, let's talk about the show. What's the rundown?
Well, we're going to start off with a little kicker. We're going to talk about Kanye and his conversion. Bless him. Yes. Oh, I feel it in my spirit.
We've been getting a lot of email messages.
Yes. What do you think? Is it real? I don't know if it's
What's Monique's opinion about Kanye?
Yeah, no.
Nobody wants my opinion.
Nobody's leading me into that. But I always have an opinion about something, people. Yeah. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about that whole Beth Moore, John MacArthur fiasco.
Getting the DMs about that, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who needs to go home? Can we all just sit around for a little while? I don't know.
I got some opinions about that.
Okay.
All right.
And then I learned today because a viewer wrote in about the brick Bible. And I was like, my Bible is leather bound. But yes, there's a thing.
Bible.
It's called the brick Bible. And I guess it has little naked Adam and Eve Lego people on it.
So we're going to talk about
Yeah, I didn't know this. But
what, really?
Yes. I feel like this Bible is highly inappropriate. But
is it for children? Should you buy it for your child? Is it a wolf in sheep's clothing? We'll talk about it toward the end of the show.
I don't know. I've never heard of it, but now I'm going to learn all the things about the Bible made out of bricks and Lego people. If you have a leather-bound Bible, don't feel bad. So do I.
Naked Lego people.
There it is. Okay. Oh my gosh. So
and join us on the chat box. We want to hear from you. We love all of your engagement and your questions. Oh, good. Auntie's watching us. Laura Hartley.
Reading, yes. Hello, Kimba. Rhyme His Song. Hello.
Oh, Rhyme His Songs is there.
Hello,
Who I've learned her name is Wendy.
Yes. Yes.
Wendy from Texas.
If you go over on the Facebook page, she was
all right, yeah, I know.
Yes.
All this time I had a little story made up that maybe she was black. I don't know.
I don't know. And I don't know that maybe
I thought she was a rap artist.
Why?
Because it's a rhyming. This is how I think.
Rapping is rhyming.
Yeah. Or a poet. Like maybe she's a slam poet. I don't know. That's what I've been thinking this whole time. I don't know if Wendy's really a slam poet or not.
This is my look of confusion.
This is the confused look. All right.
Yeah, but we'll keep going on. Hi.
Hi, Wendy.
Yes, we are glad that you are here.
All right.
Okay,
let's get into it.
Ethnicity does not matter. We are just glad that you're here.
You just want me to notice it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hi. Let's start again. Welcome to All the Things. This is the show.
Yeah, this is
where we discuss all the things. Okay.
All right, Kanye. What in the world has been going on with Kanye West?
I don't know. I feel like
Help us understand.
Everyone kind of lost their mind a little bit on both sides. So Kanye came out and was like, me and Jesus, we're a thing. Like, I love Jesus. Jesus loves me. It's all good.
Here's my gospel album.
Yes, I'm going to convert to Christianity, and I'm going to lay down some tracks and just do my little thing.
Yeah,
and so
you can get it on iTunes.
Yeah.
And it's called Jesus is King.
Jesus is King.
And you can get, here's the songs. There's not a lot of songs on here. Really, the whole album is about 30 minutes. And, most of these songs are maybe like 3 minutes.
Not even
less.
3 minutes. The longest song on here is probably 2.5 minutes. I think they're really short, but it's not necessarily a critique of the album, but like the whole situation.
And I didn't know anything really about Kanye other than like his name and I learned that he's a rap artist.
Yeah, so Kanye can be a complicated figure.
Yeah.
I have not, and I'll be honest, not that I don't really care for rap music, a lot of like hard rap anyway.
So you're not a super rap?
I'm not a super rap person. I'm not a super Kanye fan, the same way I'm not a super 50 Cent fan, so.
Is that another rapper?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm hating on Kanye or anything like that. No. But.
What were your favorite parts of the album? Like, because you and I both listened to it a few times.
So my favorite parts are the album of the album are the more gospel-y,
the choir,
big choir, because you can hear all the parts. Like you have the sopranos over here and the altos. I'm like, go altos, because I'm an alto. I don't sing, but I still would be considered an alto. I can fake it in a little section. So I really enjoyed that part. I think that he drops quite a bit of scripture, and so I like that.
I liked aspects of the album. Like I don't know anything about rap music. Like I couldn't evaluate like, oh, this is a very good song, or some of the songs sounded kind of incomplete to me, but maybe that's just how rap songs sound. I don't know.
No, I was like,
some
I
of
don't
them
know.
just sort of end a little peculiarly to me, but I did like some of the themes that he touched on, like repentance and turning away from your sin, and that Jesus would set you free from addiction and holiness and the importance of living a Christ-like life. I mean, to me, I've been listening to a lot of 80s Christian music lately.
Okay.
You just called me out, didn't you?
Sorry, carry on.
So, but I was noticing the thematic differences between Christian songs in the 80s, where there was a lot more conversation about holiness and living a Christ-like life, turning away from your sin, kind of feeding the Holy Spirit and killing your flesh, and those sorts of themes. You don't really hear people talk about that today in Christian music.
But see, I thought you told me that earlier, and I had to think about that, and I started to think about Black gospel artists. CeCe Winans, Yolanda Adams, Fred Hammond, Jay Moss. Like, I feel like there are people who would bring out some of those things, like some of those true, like enter into worship, like let's worship the Lord, let's like go for broke kind of in our worship.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
But turning away from sin, you feel like that's there in gospel music? Because the gospel music I know of is like 80s, 90s. I don't have too much in the last 20 years, but you feel like that theme is still there of, living in holiness and trying to turn away from your sin. And like, I'm thinking of like Keith Green and that sort of thing. I mean, that's just like straight up, calling us to a higher place of holiness and forsaking our sin. You don't hear that conversation coming out of Bethel and Hillsong and stuff. It's more of the worship of heaven and identity. Identity is a big theme, and I'm not against identity as a Christian. That's great. But it seems like right now, the season that we're in Christian worship is like 80% of the songs are the theme of identity. And we don't really talk about sin and turning away from our sin. And I liked that component of Kanye's lyrics, but maybe I'm way off.
I think that it's I don't know. I was thinking about it earlier. I think that is kind of the Bethel, Hillsong vein of like pop, not pop worship, but like this contemporary, this is really popular kind of worship. Everybody's adopting these worship songs kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested to get your take on some of the gospel that's being put out even now.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a worship episode coming up.
Yep.
We have someone recruited that we're super excited about.
Yeah.
So that conversation is coming. We want to say hi to our friend Juad. He says he's missed us very much. Glad to see you. We're glad to see you, brother.
Yes.
And we're glad that you keep tuning in.
So for people who may not know, like me, ding ding, Keith Green was a guy. He.
Yeah. Showing my age. That's what she's trying to delicately tell me.
No, I'm not. I'm serious because I'm like, is it something I should go listen to now?
Keith Green was kind of in the latter part of what's called the Jesus movement in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, early 80s. And the Jesus movement was sort of like hippies who had converted to Christianity. It was a big part of 70s culture. And Keith Green's music was just so hard-hitting and prophetic for Christians and calling them to a higher level of holiness.
Was he around with I can't even remember their names. They were like sisters, and they Acts the
second
Acts
chapter,
sisters?
chapter of Acts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend who
contemporary with that. I don't know for sure if they were coming out of the Jesus movement or not. They may have been, but he was definitely like converted during the Jesus movement.
Okay.
It would be like Larry Norman would be another one in that, but we'll have a whole show about that maybe someday. Like odd trivia that Krista knows about the Jesus movement.
There it is. Okay.
So, but I think that, let's first break this down about his conversion, because we're already getting some comments about, should we really, how do we think about this whole conversion? Do you what's your perception? Do you think he's a legit Christian, or is this one huge publicity stunt?
Okay, let's go down this road.
All right.
It might be a little rude and maybe off-putting. I don't know. Well, I was going to say I don't know that I care. That's wrong. I do care, and I care a lot. I don't know that it's my business to kind of weed through his conversion. I don't know that I believe that it's my place to be. He ain't really saved. That's just for publicity. If he has made an open confession saying that he is converted, that he is now following after Christ and he believes in Jesus and is living according to this, I feel like my responsibility as a Christian would be to welcome him into the faith until he proves and shows me otherwise. Now, he definitely can be a conundrum, I think, and has been.
Yeah.
But when he put out the album with Jesus Walks on it, that album, that song, Jesus Walks, and then there's another song on there that talks about God and talks about...
Well, he has I'll Fly Away on that same album, which is an old gospel song.
Mm-hmm. But there's a song that's not I'll Fly Away that speaks about like just God and like that relationship and our relationship with God. And so I think that he has been on a journey with his faith since that album came out maybe 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know that this was I woke up 2 weeks ago or a year ago, 2 years ago, and decided that I'm just now gonna, follow God, and now I'm gonna openly confess and put out a rap album. I think this is something that he's been journeying with and toiling with, wrestling with, for a while. When
well, I think I listened to the Jesus Walks song before the show. It's actually a pretty interesting and cool song. I think your sound is on.
No.
Are you on mute?
I am on mute.
Oh, okay.
But I hear it too.
I can hear.
I do hear it.
I hear one of us.
It's not me.
Okay.
Yeah, there. It's me. Yeah.
So I think the Jesus Walk song is sort of an expression of, I really want to be closer to God, but I'm afraid to talk to him. I see the devil is luring me. and destroying my life, but I'm really not sure what to do about it.
Yeah, and not only am I like that he was afraid, but that he may have felt unworthy.
Yes, that's a better way of saying it.
To go to the Father. And then you have the things that happened after that. I believe his mother died after that album.
Now, was his mother a Christian? I mean, do you know anything about that? Okay.
I don't. But
so before we get into all of his life, though, I want to kind of wrap up this whole thing about like being famous and being a convert. I mean, it's complicated.
And I think that that's something to thread out too. Like, yes, it is complicated to be famous and then to convert, or so we're making it. I don't know that it needs to be. Mm-hmm. Like, if we were going to have, Tina Smith get saved in church or decide to have a relationship with Jesus at our local church, how would we wrap our arms around her? What I've seen from evangelicals and, people who don't follow Christ or people in the critical race theory movement, whatever, is that there's been this skepticism from people on all sides of the conversation. And it's like, well, maybe it's a publicity stunt. Maybe he's doing this because he follows Trump. Maybe he's doing this because of his mental health stuff. There's so many reasons. Maybe we shouldn't really believe that he's converted.
Yeah.
Who made you Jesus? I'm not sure that that's our place to question that.
At this point, what we know is it certainly seems sincere.
It does.
That's my perception. I mean, the interview he did with Apple Music, you can go on YouTube and watch it, and he makes some interesting and powerful statements. Like, I'm no longer a slave. I'm a son. Mm-hmm. I watched the thing with him and James Corden for, I don't know what his show is, the Late Late Show or something. And he had like a 20-minute bit with him. And
carpool karaoke, except they did it in the airplane. Airplane karaoke.
With all of Kanye's choir.
Yes.
And it was very nice. And I think that the statements he made in there lead me to believe either he's an A+ actor or this is completely sincere.
Yes.
And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's sincere and pray for him that he gets some solid people in his life to disciple him and help show him the way, just as I would for any new convert.
And that's my point, is that because he's famous and because of the life that he's led before, I feel like people are more apt to scrutinize or to be skeptical and things like that. And I just don't believe that that is the way that we should surround anyone. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a past. And so just because he's famous with his past doesn't mean that we as the church should not rally around him and support him on his journey.
Here's my concern in all of this is that I would have this concern even if he wasn't famous, but especially because he's famous, is he's kind of getting pushed into almost like this leadership figurehead role of this icon of a Christian convert. And Paul gives us, a warning about that in 1 Timothy 3 about, an elder or a leader in a local church should not be a new convert because they might, he gives a couple of reasons. One is that they may become conceited, but also that they may get deceived by the enemy, and because they just don't know that much. Kind of the pattern from historic Christianity has been that new converts, you want to help them take their time. Mm-hmm. You don't want to dampen their excitement, but you also want to lead them through a process of learning. And in ancient faith churches, they kind of have a year-long catechism process that they lead people through. It's a time of learning, asking questions, and counting the cost of if they really want to go down this path. I think it's kind of, I just hope that Kanye has some good people in his life that will help him grow in his faith and train him properly. And it does seem like he's got this preacher that kind of follows him around that does seem to preach actual sound doctrine. So I'm somewhat hopeful that maybe he has those voices in his life. So,
And I also think that as Christians watching all of this, it is our responsibility to be praying for him so that, we are even spiritually speaking into that space. Because we don't want it to be a situation where it's like, he falls away or chooses to walk away or, becomes entangled with other things. I agree that time that the early church used and that ancient faith still used today is so important in learning exactly what it is you believe and why you believe that and taking that time to really strengthen your own faith.
And maybe I think the best case scenarios is somebody like, because all roads lead to Johnny Cash. And
well, that's interesting.
So, but Johnny Cash is an example of somebody who kind of grew up in a Christian family, fell far away from the Lord, and then came back to faith. And in that case, he became quite outspoken about his faith, and he did make gospel music as well as radio music, and explored that artistic journey of how to have both of those worlds together. But in that case, it was a famous person becoming a convert who it was genuine and sincere. And so hopefully that will be similar for Kanye as well. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
We wish him the best, definitely.
Now, I saw a tweet by a Christian CRT person.
Okay. I've seen many tweets by Christian CRT people.
Saying that Kanye's conversion may be 100% authentic and also 100% colonized. Now, help me make sense of that statement, because when I first saw it, I was like, I have no idea what this person's saying. But since then, I've seen a lot of similar comments around this. So I'm just wondering if you can help kind of step us.
You just
step
throwing
us
it out
through
there
that.
at me, huh?
Yeah.
Throwing it out there. I wasn't expecting that one.
Okay.
One of the things that I see people giving a lot of flack for is the fact that, one, he supports Trump, but two, he hasn't spoken up in more of a woke fashion. So what's being said is that while it may be authentic to him and his
conversion,
his heart truly may be to follow Jesus, what he is doing is participating in a faith that is colonized, a faith that is
a colonized version of Christianity.
Yes.
Okay.
So a more white American version of Christianity that would not necessarily speak out for the marginalized or the poor. It would be it's a very critical race kind of situation, or it not even kind of, but it is a very critical race definition. It would be the faith or the Christianity of white evangelicals.
This kind of brings us in a little bit more of his story and his journey, because we said earlier, like, it's not like this is a brand new theme in Kanye's music, is exploring faith and Jesus and that sort of thing. But he will say himself, like, hey, you saw me at the Grammys running around drunk, carrying a bottle of Hennessy, acting a fool with Taylor Swift and interrupting her on stage. His mother died. Potentially he had a period of mental instability. So he's been in a journey for a while, and it's had a lot of steps and phases. And a couple of years ago, he started getting chummy with Trump, and he kind of got unwoke. I don't know what that word is, but he kind of came out of.
He started to just think for himself and have.
That's what he would say.
He just had different opinions and views than
he became
the majority of what some people had who, Black culture.
Yeah. So that I'm wondering if those things play into now this some of the criticisms of, well, you're friends with Trump, so this must be a colonized gospel. Do you see anything in his music that reflects colonized thinking?
Well, if I subscribe to critical race theory, then yes,
Okay.
there would be that. There isn't like an overt speaking out against marginalization or against injustice, against the poor, those kind of things. So I think there is that. But then I also think that Black people, and this is just my take on us, is that we can be quick to ask questions, and we will ask a lot of questions. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, how, and we can just make it all fit together and come back around again 3 days later and ask the same question to make sure we got the same answer. And so
what are some of the
questions that we're asking is, where were the white evangelicals who are now supporting Trump a couple years ago when he was speaking out against Black issues?
Or you mean supporting Kanye?
Kanye, yeah. So sorry. Where were the white evangelicals' support of Kanye when he was speaking out against not Trump but against Bush? Or when he, took a stand and was like, well, I'm a Black man and X, Y, and Z. Or the fact that it seemed like the support of Kanye really dwindled after the Taylor Swift thing, but now that he is, saying, oh, well, I support Trump, and he's coming out as a Christian and not speaking out necessarily against marginalization and things like that, it seems like white evangelicals are really supporting him and saying, yes, we like your conversation. We like the things that you're promoting. And so what I see is that a lot of Blacks are like, or not even just Blacks, but people who definitely promote a CRT view. But then I think on Twitter, I've seen people who I don't know necessarily support a CRT view, but are Black, and they're like, well, wait, is the conversation, sorry, I was just kind of distracted by what's happening. Is the conversation, you're supporting him because he promotes the propaganda and he promotes what you like? Or is there something else? Like, why all of a sudden all of this support? And I think that can look like a bit of divisiveness. But people are just asking questions as to, well, wait, what happened? Were you riding with him? Did you like him all along? Or do you only like him now that he's supporting your agenda?
And I think it's interesting that there's a thought that somehow the gospel, that someone would only support the conversion of somebody because of a political agenda. I'm sure that there's those people out there. I don't know who those people are. I mean, in the people I've interacted with and seen on Facebook who are white or non-critical race theory advocates who are looking at Kanye now, it's more of a curiosity because he's a celebrity who has converted. It's not anything to do with Trump. Like, I got a lot of Facebook friends who don't like Trump at all, but checked out the Kanye album simply because of the conversion story. And I understand the critical race theory narrative that, well, this is why you're supporting him now is because of his friendship with Trump and it's this colonial gospel, but I'm not sure that that's not a straw man. That I'm not sure that that's accurate. I think there could be other reasons, other motivations why people are interested, especially non-critical race theory white people are interested in Kanye's story. I listened to his album and I don't know nothing about rap music, but I did it because we were doing this show for research, but I probably would have listened to it at least once anyways, just because I was curious about a rap artist becoming a Christian. That's a curious story. Mm-hmm. My husband listened to it one day, and I think it was a matter of curiosity. It wasn't a matter of politics, but that helps me understand a little bit more of what's there.
I just think for some people it looks really odd that there was really very little mention of Kanye in the evangelical space until now. And yeah, it could be just because of, the conversion, or it could be because of something else. What my hope is that it's because of conversion and they really want to support him. Although in my Twitter feed, I've seen a lot of evangelicals who are like, you need to look at him with a second glance.
Sure.
Which I'm like, oh, womp womp. That's kind of sad. How do we rally around someone, like I said, who is at least confessing their faith in Jesus?
Kimba has a theory. She says, I doubt many Christians were following Kanye once he started calling himself a god or Jesus.
Yeah, there's that. There is that. But I do know a few. I'm not going to lie. I do know a few who stayed true. Let's see what else is going on. The back of my thoughts are that the Kardashians do anything and everything for money and attention. Nah. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it could be seen that way. I'm just not sure. Yeah, not sure. What else is being said?
So I have one more. I mean, do we want to get into this whole thing? No?
I mean, you can if you want to. Folks, welcome to our living room. Hi. These are just our discussions.
Oh, gosh.
You can if you want to. Go ahead.
Because when we're talking about a colonized gospel, I think that what people need to understand, if they're not in the critical race theory conversation, is that there's sort of this dichotomy that's set up by many Christian advocates of critical race theory, that there's the white gospel and then there's the black gospel. Mm-hmm. And that those are two different things. And what they're saying is that Kanye is promoting a white gospel.
I would go so far as to say there's a white gospel and then there's the gospel.
I agree. I think there's a third alternative, but the way that they set it up is that there's only two options.
I wouldn't say white and black.
Okay.
I would say there's a white gospel, and then there is the gospel.
Okay.
Which would be the true gospel according to critical race people. So I'm not saying that I believe this, but that there would be, this is the white gospel, this is the colonized Christianity, and then there's the true gospel that talks about marginalization, that was written by marginalized people for marginalized people. Like all of that conversation comes out of the true gospel.
So I guess my question to you earlier, and I still have this question, is which of the lyrics in Kanye's album promote a white gospel?
Every lyric that does not talk about marginalization, the poor, anything that keeps those two things distant from the reality of Christianity, then in some ways promotes the privilege and power of a different gospel.
Okay. So given that, the problem is the omission. That's what makes it white in the viewpoint of critical race theory people. Is the omission. That's the problem.
I would say that's a large piece of it.
Okay.
From what I understand, yes, that's a large piece of it.
So for them, when I say things like, here's my understanding of the gospel. God came to earth in the form of the God-man, fully God, fully human. He came. He died in my place. He destroyed the ownership of the sin, the flesh, and the devil. And he if I put my faith and trust in him and in his death, I can have a new identity and I can get transformed through the power of the Holy Spirit and be a new person in the spirit and also in the flesh, that I can live a different life. Jesus didn't die just to forgive me of my sins. He died to empower change in my life. And this is why Kanye says things like he can set you free from addictions. That is the good news, and that good news is for everybody, Jew or Gentile, rich or poor, no matter what your race is, no matter what your background is, that good news can be for you. That offer is there if you choose to accept it. Because I have left out social location of Jesus coming for marginalized people in a special way, that is seen as a white gospel. Do I kind of have that right?
Give me a second. I got to wrap my mind all around it.
I'm trying.
I know, and I am wrestling. I think that is part of it. I don't know that it is specific to location, because we could say that there are marginalized people here. You can say the wealth gap creates marginalization. You can say education creates marginalization. Housing location creates marginalization. So it doesn't have to be this, person living in the Sudan who is a marginalized person. Marginalization can occur in first, second, or third world countries.
Okay.
So yes, like the omission of talking about real issues that are impacting people even here would be an issue.
What would I have to add? Like, what is the belief that I would have to add to that gospel presentation that would make it woke?
You're trying me today, Jesus. Help me now. No.
I'm just inquiring minds want to know.
I'm trying to think of like the lyrics of one of the songs, but the addition to me would be maybe something along the lines of talking about like the injustice or the racial disparities in police brutality.
Okay.
So bringing that in, like,
but is that part of the gospel, or is that an outworking of the gospel?
Well, it depends on how you look at things like love and equality, or how you look at life and who we speak up and speak out for. If those are key components for you, then that would be a part of the gospel.
I don't know if I agree with that, because to me, that sounds more like, and I'm doing a teaching series right now on YouTube on the law. Mm-hmm. And the video that I released this week was about how love is law, not gospel. Love is a response that we have to the gospel, but it's not the gospel itself. That's something different. And what I hear critical race theory people do is it feels like they want to redefine what the gospel is by adding law. That unless you do these things, then it's not good news. And I would say, no, the good news is that Jesus came and I receive a free gift. Mm-hmm. But then my response to the gospel, I do out of a gracious expression for what God has done for me. And that's love, loving others. And how that love works itself out in the culture can be a great conversation. But that's not gospel. That's law.
And okay, so let's say that we agree with that. Even from a critical race theory standpoint, though, I think what the problem is, or what some people would say the problem is that you don't see many people speaking out in love, in acts of love, to do those things, to speak out against injustice, to speak out against marginalization, to speak out against zoning laws and redlining, and things that still today even happen in backroom conversations or sideline things. So it's, yes, gospel, the good news, Jesus came, I received a free gift. And now the outworking of that and the responsibility of the Christian, people would take issue with. Like, how do you walk out love? I think for some, they would say you walk out love by loving your neighbor the way that you would love yourself. And if you're loving your neighbor the way that you would love yourself, you would not allow yourself, you wouldn't want yourself to have to stay in a red line district. So why wouldn't you speak out for your neighbor who has to live in a red line district?
And I think that's a fair question. I think that it's a very fair question. But to me, that is an outworking of love, not gospel. And critical race theory, people will often say things like reconciliation is part of the gospel. Mm-hmm. And that's where I part company with them. Because then this whole idea of the white gospel, I'm still trying to get to what is the definition of that, because these Christian critical race theory people are always saying people like Kanye, people like me, people like my old seminary are promoting a white gospel. And I'm just trying to ask a very simple question. I'm a very simple person. Just tell me what that means. Tell me the definition and tell me what your version is, Mr. Critical Race Theory Advocate, for what the gospel must include that I am not including in order for it to be what you see as the correct gospel. That's what I want to know, is what is it that makes this white? That's the question that I'm stumbling over. Because when I look back in church history all the way to the beginning, and I look at it from a global and historical perspective, what the gospel is pretty clear. And it doesn't have anything to do with woke theology and woke speak. Mm-hmm. And Jesus didn't speak woke. And now that's being imported and we're being told that's the gospel, but that's law. So
it's, as somebody who came out of it, I feel like it's really tricky. And I was just reading something earlier today where they referenced the slave Bible, and it was in regard to one of Kanye's songs. But they talked about Kanye wanting to use Black gospel sounds, but to promote an ideology and a framework that also was used to promote slavery and keep people in slavery. And it's that thought process that people latch on to that they then bring into this present day and say, this is still the same thing that was used to enslave, generations of people. And so if that is the case, then what the Jesus that you preach is a different Jesus than the one that you want me to believe in, or the Jesus that I believe in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just such a hard issue. But yeah, I mean, the slave Bible, did we do a segment about the slave Bible? I did something. I did, so one of my videos, I covered it about the slave Bible and what that is. It's basically a cut up version of the Bible. They had a big display at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. recently of the slave Bible. And it was a version of the Bible that was used to oppress Black people and keep them enslaved.
They were only given portions of the Bible,
right.
And the parts that talked about being free, like the Israelites being free, were removed and things like that. Yeah. But it was the verses that would keep people enslaved, and this is the Lord's will for you to be enslaved, and like. And I think that's
a fair criticism. It's a fair historical thing to bring up, but I don't think that makes the historic Christian faith a white gospel.
I don't think the historic...
it's a regional aberration for a period of time.
I don't think the historic Christian faith leads or is a white gospel. What I think is that the American faith, the American Christianity, does not lead people back to the historic Christian faith that says this is how you treat the poor, this is how you do this is how you do that. We have a very skewed version of Christianity, in my opinion, today here in America, and it does not speak out against injustice. It doesn't speak out or seek to really do what some would consider enough to benefit the poor. The church is, I guess in my opinion too, very inward looking. And I don't see a lot of things that lead outward. And so that's where I think the room is created for some people to step in and say, this is a white gospel. The church isn't doing this. There's just this space for many people to come in because I think personally there's just a gap that's missing in the church. And I think that that's where many people can come in with views on CRT. It's because people in the church by and large aren't trying to have conversations about race. And because they're not trying to, their silence by default is creating a space where people can come in and say, see, you're not talking about it, so it must be this. This is the answer because no one is wanting to speak up.
Yeah, I think you and I have a pretty sharp disagreement on the degree to which the church, it does speak into justice issues. Mm-hmm. I am much more optimistic about the good that the church does. You are far more pessimistic about it, and you and I don't see this issue the same. I don't think I would say it in such a way as to say, well, the church isn't doing enough to help the marginalized. The church isn't doing enough to help the poor. I say the opposite. I say we do an amazing amount. If you just look at the statistics of the amount of money and time and treasure that Christians donate to helping the poor, it's an amazing amount of resources that we push into that. Now we could have a conversation about how effective that is and whether or not those are the best strategies. That's a different conversation. But I don't see the poverty of effort that you do. For you feel like the church isn't doing enough. We're not active enough. You don't see enough. I see it very differently.
And I think my 20 years in social service really leads me to looking at things and programs. And one of my last, places of employment was a place that partnered with churches, and looking at the space where churches don't step into. Like, it's not because I want to be a Debbie Downer on the church and just be openly condemning the church all the time, but it's a space that I've worked in and have spent a lot of time in and can say, there is a gap in what we're doing. And yeah, are we doing things? Sure we are, but is there more that could be done? Are there other ways that we could be more empowering or more effective with our time and our resource?
Sure.
Yes.
That's always true.
That's where I'm like, you know what? The church is really leaving a space for people to walk in. And I can say that because if we weren't, it wouldn't be able to creep in. It just wouldn't.
But don't you think that is a space that both the black church and the white church have open? Like, black churches could do more.
Oh, I wasn't giving a breakdown or a barrier in white and black. To me, the church is the church.
Yeah.
And so if the church itself is leaving room open, we are leaving room open. And with this room being open, people are able to come in. It reminds me of that, I don't know if it's a parable. You apologize, you can tell me. But the story where the lady swept the house clean, and then the demons came in and was like, oh, we found an empty house. There's things that there's just space. There's
Sure.
space, and because of that space, the enemy is able to creep in, and it's like, look, nobody's filling this space. So I'm going to sit
Sure.
right here. No one is willing to have a hard conversation about the black and white issue or the black and whatever issue or white and whatever issue. I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to fill your congregation with lies and division and divisive tactics because no one else is really stepping into that space.
Sure. Well,
that's just my thought.
We got some comments here. Annette says 1 Corinthians 15 is the actual gospel. And yes, it is. It is certainly the critical and foundational part of it. You're absolutely right, Annette, is the historical facts of the gospel. Your testimony is not the gospel. The gospel is the life, death, and resurrection and the appearances of Jesus. That is the heart of the gospel. However, when we go to Matthew and Luke, there's another component of what Jesus calls the gospel, and that is bringing the good news. And what is that good news? It is he goes everywhere to bring the good news, and he does that through healing the sick, casting out demons, raising the dead, cleansing the lepers. And so it is accompanied by signs and wonders, and it shows Jesus breaking through the world, the flesh, and the devil, and so there's both of those. This is a hard conversation. And what you guys just saw here in the last 20 minutes was us just totally unrehearsed discussion on things. So
Laura Sanders says the church is the church. Amen, Monique. The fact that we are talking about the black church and the white church shows us that we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely.
There's some comments on Facebook too.
Oh,
Facebook. Sorry, Facebook land. We have possibly just got off and forgotten to check you. Sorry.
so sorry. All right, we will go to Facebook.
Woo.
Then we'll switch gears here.
Oh, Elizabeth, Rachel. Hey, y'all. Okay, hold on. Oh my goodness, there's so much. Let's see. Of course, you're on the banner. Yes, you are on the banner of WIA. Krista, you do your research for sure. My game is up, but prophesy if you must. I have the Brick Bible, Rachel. Elizabeth, I wish Christians would stop speculating whether or not his conversion is authentic and just start praying that his heart would be good soil and that godly men would come alongside and disciple him. Imagine what could happen in the entertainment industry if he grows
deep roots.
Grows deep roots.
Yeah,
Yes,
our friend
that's
Elizabeth Urbanovitz on it there. So great comments, you guys. Love it.
Yes.
Okay, and now for something also controversial.
Well, there's that.
Beth Moore and John MacArthur. So we're going to cover like race controversy and women controversy all in the same show. It's been a long 2 weeks, people.
Get your tea. That's all I'm saying.
Get your tea. All right. Are you guys, all right, fasten your seatbelts. Are you okay?
Here we go.
So a couple of weeks ago, John MacArthur made some statements at the Truth Matters conference. I've watched actually some of the other talks from this conference. They're now being posted on YouTube. But we'll just listen to about 90 seconds of the audio here of the infamous Go Home soundbite. All right, Bob, hit it.
Need to give a one or a pithy response to the word. Are you
I feel
ready?
like I'm being set up.
That is always the case with Todd. Watch out for him. He will try to embarrass you.
We're going to start out. This is just kind of touching your toes. Easy setup for you. Let's begin with an easy one. The word is Beth Moore.
That's 2 words.
Literalist. All right. Dr. MacArthur, Beth Moore.
How many words do I get?
You know, actually, and before you answer this, please think carefully this time, because last time you did a one-word association. The guy wrote a book about it, and we don't want that.
I was thinking of the same word.
Okay?
Go home.
Well, I see we're warmed up. Why dilly-dally?
There's no case that can be made biblically for a woman preacher. Period. Paragraph. End of discussion.
So let me see if I can get a clarification.
Okay, that you can go find the clip and listen to the rest of it there, but
don't.
or don't. Yeah.
Or don't.
So apparently they've done this word association thing before. I looked up what they were talking about because they said last time a book came out of it. Apparently, the word last time was Stephen Furtick. And MacArthur said unqualified. And then Pastor Furtick wrote a book called Unqualified. So I don't know. Maybe Beth Moore's next book will be called Go Home.
If I was her, I would be like, yes, let me write this book. Good for you.
So this, of course, then led to a parade of articles and posts saying that MacArthur is a misogynist. He owes every woman on the planet an apology, or at least every woman in ministry. And I think that the culture is definitely going to see it as, misogynistic statement. What are your candid thoughts about it?
You presented a case that I was like, okay, maybe I can try this on. That his worldview is that women shouldn't preach or speak or breathe, basically. Sometimes I was really disheartened by this, but that his worldview is that women shouldn't speak or preach. And so if that's the worldview that he's coming from, is it considered sexist?
Yeah,
That
was the word you used. Yeah.
It's because I called him sexist. And or is it only sexist by culture's definition? I had to really stop and think about that. I still feel like it's sexist, but if that's his entire worldview,
sure,
and the place where he stands upon, he wouldn't see it as sexist, and people who hold that view or that worldview also would not see it as sexist. And so I was like, okay. And then you mentioned that people actually, or what he is doing, he and many who believe like him would feel like he is acting in love.
Yeah.
Because I was like, even if you don't think that women should speak or preach, where is the love? Like, there's no love shown here. I don't see this as being love. And I think my analogy to you was like, you can give me hard truth, but can we do it in love? Like, I'm not going to receive a steak dinner on a trash can lid, like I'm not going to receive your truth when it's just thrown at me in such misogynistic.
It's pretty harsh, and the laughing was rough. I mean,
it was all rough.
The clip is rough, and I was a Reformed Baptist once upon a time, and so I've been in these kind of conferences, and I kind of have some insight into how these people think. And I guess your comment about your initial comment to me was, well, he's just sexist. And I said, well, I don't know if it's true, because to say he's sexist is to apply a cultural definition onto a Christian idea. And really, he's just exemplifying the position of complementarianism. And if you sincerely believe that that's what Scripture teaches is complementarianism, he goes on in the clip, if you listen to the rest of it, to give somewhat of a defense of his position as a complementarian. And his motivation is that his heart is heavy because he feels like the church is compromising and caving in. That was the word he used, caving into women preachers. And Beth Moore has kind of become this iconic example of a woman in ministry, a prominent lady preacher. And really what he's expressing is, I feel like the church is caving in on what he sees as a doctrine of creation, that God has created and set things up a certain way. Now, I'll grant you, this was not the most diplomatic or kind way of doing it. It was laced with sarcasm, and the laughter was difficult. But at the end of the day, MacArthur is a complementarian. So from his point of view, the most loving thing he can do is say, hey, wait a minute, this is errant doctrine. And if you truly believe that in your heart, you would want to save people from an error.
Yes, and I get that. Like, save me from my error, but can you do it in love? Like, let's just be clear. He was not doing anything in love.
What would it be? What does that mean?
He was doing it in jest.
What if it's just telling you the truth with a smile on my face?
It wasn't. Go home.
It got everyone to laugh.
Because they are...
It's a smile.
Yeah, but at her expense.
I get it.
So to me, with that defense, I'm just like, oh, I can tell you anything as long as I get somebody else to laugh. Like, what are we presenting to the world?
But this is how these people think, is that I can tell you the brutal, honest truth, and that is the most loving thing I can do. And I can tell, I've seen this played out over and over again of, like, the best example I've come up with is if a wife comes to her husband and says, does this dress make me look fat? The most loving thing you can do is give her the unvarnished truth of, yes, it does. Don't go out in public like that.
Now that is, to me, that's different. Now, if your husband comes to you and is like, oink, oink, that's different.
Okay.
And to me, that was his response.
Okay. I'll buy that.
To me, his response, she is saying, do I look fat? And instead of saying, yes, do not go outside like that, he said, oink, oink.
Okay, I'll buy that.
That is not love.
I will concede that, but I'm just telling you that this is how these people think. It's let me give you, I'm reproving you in public. That's the most loving thing I can do is to tell you as an audience member, as a YouTube viewer, not even necessarily for Beth Moore, but I have concern for your soul, YouTube viewer.
But he did not say that.
In the clip, he does.
He starts out with go home, and he does it to rile people up and get them laughing at her. And to me, everything else is irrelevant.
I understand.
I'm just like,
okay, we have a question here. What is complementarianism? Sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So complementarianism, I have a video on my YouTube channel about this. I have a playlist on gender issues, and there's a video about a kind of like a 3 views of these issues. But a complementarianism, just as a really quick and dirty definition, is that God set things up from the beginning, from creation, that men and women would have different roles. And that they would not just be anatomically different and soulishly different, but that they would have differences of roles, and that there's some roles that women do and there's some roles that men do, and they shouldn't exchange roles. Now, in the Christian realm, in the New Testament, they would say these passages that I call the no passages, that say women should keep silent in church and should not exercise authority over men, that those passages refer back to the created order, and that God set things up from the beginning, that women should not be preachers and that sort of thing. Now, I also say in my video that there's a lot of yes passages, that there's the yes passage in John 4 of the Samaritan woman going, and she's kind of the first evangelist in taking the gospel back to her village. There's the women at the tomb who go back and proclaim that Jesus has risen from the dead to the disciples. When Jesus gives the Great Commission, he doesn't just specify, men, you go. It seems to be for everybody. So we have the yes passages versus the no passages. How do we make sense of these things? The egalitarian position, which is the other major Protestant position, is that patriarchy in different roles is the result of the fall. But God's created order is equality, and that the mandate of the Great Commission is for both men and women. So that's sort of like a quick and dirty definition. I hope that helps you out. Rhyme his songs.
Yeah.
So anyways, and I should say while I'm on the topic that I am neither a strict complementarian or egalitarian. I get the hate mail. I get the letters. You know, I can't figure out what you are. Well, then I've maybe succeeded, because I have been working this question through for 2.5 decades. I for a long time, I thought I was an egalitarian. Well, for a long time, I thought I was a complementarian. Then more recently, I kind of shifted to being more of an egalitarian. In the last couple of years, I don't know, I'm in some weird never land of a third position, because I see a very troubling trend among egalitarians, like the Christians for Biblical Equality people. They're platforming so many people now that are really just advocating for critical theory and critical race theory, that their goal seems to be becoming, and I'm seeing more and more blog posts to this effect, their goal seems to be becoming wipe out all patriarchy. I'm not sure that's the right goal. I mean, in the beginning, egalitarianism in the 70s was this interesting intellectual project about men and women being commissional together. And I think there's something to that. But in recent years, it has almost shifted to this other idea of feminism and critical theory. And it's sort of, I feel like it's hijacking egalitarianism into like a not healthy direction. And I'm seeing more and more blog posts to the effect of their goal is to wipe out patriarchy. I don't necessarily think that's the right goal. I'm a skeptic about that. And so I am currently in this weird never land of things. And so I don't know. I think what's really hurting my heart is all the unbelievers watching
Yes.
this conversation.
Yep.
And watching Christians just eat each other up. And it's similar to the Kanye problem. I mean, must we eat our own? Must we do that? Can we not like disagree with each other in a civil way? Like, why do we have to make Beth Moore the brunt of jokes? Like, really, like appealing to the basest part of us? Shouldn't we as Christians rise above that? Can't we do better?
Yeah,
So-
it's like we have a saying, don't put your business in the street. And I'm just like, family, we just putting all our stuff out there for everybody to talk about, for everybody to just look at. And this family business. Can we kind of, be civil? And that doesn't mean that this should happen, only behind closed doors. We should really consider how we love one another and how we speak of and to one another. But my goodness, do we have to put it out on social media? Do we
have to just be in this like such a negative, horrible space? I don't know. I'm not a fan of that.
And then let's see. Angie Hamilton said MacArthur has sound doctrine, but it's too harsh in the delivery. And see, that speaks to my point. Like, even if he does have sound doctrine, how will anyone learn sound doctrine when you present it in a way that's so unappealing, that is so, like, I wouldn't want to hear about Jesus from him. If I didn't believe, I'd be like, no, you can take that. Like, I'm sorry. I don't want that, because look at what you just did to the woman who also proclaims the same Jesus you believe in. How do we do that? And how do we become better in treating one another? And yeah, if that's your worldview, God bless you. I understand that that's the pillar that you stand on. But how do we make ourselves an invitation for someone else? You can have all the sound doctrine in the world, but if you have not love, you are a clanging gong.
I don't disagree with you on that. And that's one of the reasons why I left the Reformed tradition. Because the love just wasn't lived out in a way that seemed consistent with the discussions of love that I saw in the Bible. It was more of let me tell you the unvarnished truth, and that's love.
Yeah.
And once my husband and I kind of started shifting to, wait a minute, that actually doesn't seem like love the way that the Bible describes it. Maybe we need to rethink this a little bit.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons that we left being Reformed. And I will say about, all of these people, Beth Moore, she has become very iconic of lady preachers. But there is also this kind of attachment to her or a big question mark hanging over her of what is her position? Is she drifting into critical race theory? She's very friendly with Ukemini Wan. Is she drifting into progressive theology? She's very friendly with a lot of gay affirming leaders. She hasn't said anything specific yet, but she has made some things that kind of get up to that boundary. And so part of the baggage with Beth Moore is she's not just a lady preacher who's teaching the historic Christian faith. She's a lady preacher who touches on some questionable ideas. And so that kind of adds to the complication of the issue.
Yeah, I agree that it does become a complicated issue. I guess what I still come back to is complicated or not, how do we treat someone else who professes the same faith? How do we, and even if they don't, how do we treat someone else?
Yeah.
Do we call people to laugh at them?
Yeah, I mean,
how do we?
We have a frequent viewer here, Jawad, our Muslim friend, who has a very different worldview than we do in some regards. Some of it actually is quite similar to us, but other things we're going to have some points of departure. But we have no interest in shaming Jawad for his worldview. We welcome him. He's wanted. We love his questions. We want his questions. He's curious about our faith. And he's been a wonderful encouragement to us. All of that speaks to our humanity.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just be human with each other? I don't understand. Like, why must everything be about shaming and cancel culture?
Yeah.
So now Annette disagrees with the statement that MacArthur has sound doctrine. She is concerned about MacArthur's views on the relationship between grace and works, which is a whole other thing we won't get into. But the question of MacArthur, I mean, is for sure that he's a lightning rod of all manner of controversies and on that. But he's fairly typical of the Reformed Baptist tradition and teaching kind of the standard beliefs around that. So anyways, all right. Well, those are my thoughts about Beth Moore and John MacArthur.
There it is, people. There it is.
All right. We are way over time. Do we really want to do this about children's Bibles? I want to do this.
Well, let's do it then. I mean,
I've been wanting to do this for a long time. This was just an excuse.
okay.
So,
I don't know what it is that you
all
want
right.
to do that.
Well, it'll surprise you.
Oh. Because
Right?
we all know how much I like that.
She loves surprises. People send the surprises Monique's way.
Let's just be clear.
She loves surprises.
Let's be clear and honest.
Christmas is coming. Surprise her. Okay. Let's talk about children's Bibles, because I do get this question from time to time. People write to me and they want to know my opinion of children's Bibles. Should I use a children's Bible? Which one do I endorse? Not a big endorser.
Okay.
I'm just a big opinion giver. So anyways, I had a viewer write to me, I think yesterday or the day before, that her church had sent out a warning
Oh.
about the Brick Bible.
Oh. They got warnings on Bibles?
We need like some perilous warning music.
My goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So
Brick
can
Bible.
we put up the graphic of the warning? There it is. Parents, if you've seen the Brick Bibles in stores, please be careful. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It focuses on sacrifices and death, Lego gore, and God's wrath. It is all law and no gospel.
Lego gore?
Yes.
Have you not seen the Lego movie?
And turns out it was written by an atheist who does not think highly of Christians. The foreword was written by a guy who got a master's of divinity from a school that does not believe in Jesus. So there you go. There was the official children's ministry post.
Okay.
So as a former children's pastor, I'll be curious to have you weigh in on this as well.
Okay.
So the Brick Bible, not endorsed by Legos. It is written by one man, this guy right here, Brendan Smith. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so I went on Amazon because that is the fountain of so much wisdom.
Okay. I don't know where this is going. I'm kind of curious myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I should sit back.
So, because I said, well, we have the Brick Bible.
There it is.
We got two of them in our house.
Oh.
So
Y'all pray for me.
pray for my children. They had them. All right. So Abigail had the Brick Bible because she loves her some Legos when she was little.
I still have some.
Yes. So it's basically the Bible stories in Legos. It's like some bad Lego photography with captions. There we go. So that's what it is. Acting out. Uh-oh. Looks like Moses fell down there. What is that?
Oh.
Yeah, Moses died. Right here.
Okay.
Right here. He died. There's God. It always depicts God as this old man with the beard. Sort of the neo-atheist depiction of God. Anyways, so we got these books. So I went on Amazon and I was like, okay, so let's see what the fountain of knowledge of Amazon had to say about...
Hold on. I gotta cover up the naked people.
Yeah, the people were naked. I don't.
right on the cover.
There we go. We're not that kind of show, folks.
All right, we want to keep it all very PG.
Yes.
All right, so first there were the loved it reviews. There was a lot of those. 5 stars.
Okay.
Love, love, love the Lego Brick Bible. But again, not endorsed by Lego.
Uh-huh.
Bible using Lego creatures. Okay. Then we had the hate it reviews. There were really only 2 kinds of reviews on Amazon. Loved it and hated it.
Yeah.
I can't begin to describe my disgust with this book. we thought it would be appropriate for our 12-year-old, but nope, wrong. Why did Lego do this? Well, sir, Lego did not. It is not a Lego endorsed book. Okay. So I did some more research, and the author, I just Googled him, and there was a Reddit post by him. Another fountain of wisdom in our culture is Reddit, a place I don't recommend you go, without being accompanied by an adult. So there was his statement on Reddit about the Lego Bible. He says, I am the creator of the Brick Testament website, the Brick Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, and I'm an atheist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorrow.
That is, yeah, okay.
So screaming.
Okay.
So he is actually an atheist.
Okay.
And I looked up this seminary that is quoted. There is a foreword in the book written by somebody that I've never heard of. That it must be in the New Testament one. It's not an Old Testament one. Hopefully there's no naked people in this one. Okay. But it mentions, it's written, there's a foreword written by somebody, Wanda Lundy, professor of ministry studies at the New York Theological Seminary. So I looked up that fine institution. And it's sort of an interfaith seminary, not completely Jesus-oriented.
Okay.
We might say progressive. So in general, the facts are correct in the Facebook post that the books are written by an atheist, and that it is endorsed by somebody from a fairly liberal seminary. But I think what's interesting is that this is written, it says right in the beginning of it, and most people probably haven't read this, but these are not for children. The author did not write these for children, even though it looks like a children's book. Don't be fooled. They're actually written for adults. And there is some rather interesting and adult content in them. Naked Lego people having sex. So
stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Elizabeth says you should look at the circumcision passages in that Bible. Disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Nope. Don't need to. Don't need to. We'll just.
Abby, do you think you can get on that for us right
No.
here? Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
No.
So anyway, we let these things come into our home, people. Mm-mm. So Legos are fun and we love them. And actually, there's a lot of good content in here, but I do think that to some degree, like you want to be aware in choosing of what this is. I got a couple of alternatives here if you want some different Bibles. We got the Action Bible, which was illustrated by some Marvel illustrators. It has sort of like in a graphic novel form. Mm-hmm. And it's published by a Christian publisher, so I'm assuming that they have vetted it somewhat. And then there's also for younger children the Jesus Storybook Bible that at the end of every story kind of shows how every story points to Jesus, which is kind of a nice connection.
That's cool.
So if you're going to get a storybook Bible, you might want to consider some other alternatives. But what is the purpose of storybook Bibles? This is a very important question. What do you think as a former children's pastor? Do you think children should just get a real Bible or are storybook Bibles okay? What do you think?
I'm a fan of the real Bible.
The real Bible.
That's my take on it. I taught from a real Bible. My kids learned from a real Bible. We learned
the Brick Bible.
No, not the Brick Bible. We learned passages out of a real Bible. They learned all of the books of the Bible from a real Bible. I think that there is a place, and there can be a place for a children's Bible, especially for young children. But once they get into children's church age, like that kindergarten, they start to read and up. Oh man, come on, let's pull out the Bible. And I'm gonna teach you, how do you find Genesis? How do you find Nehemiah? How do you find Ruth? Whatever. Because
there's any churches out there that would like to hire Monique,
y'all just let me know.
Yeah, just the real Monique D on Twitter.
But in all seriousness, they are not sub-Christians. They are not partial Christians. They don't have a junior Holy Spirit. They don't have a junior Christ mentality. It's not a junior worldview. So I'm going to teach them according to the way that I would teach an adult, just with a little difference, you know? So we're going to learn, this is what this passage means. And I'm going to ask them, how do you read this? And here, let me tell you what the author is meaning. Yeah. Let's look at all of this. What are the books of the Bible? How do I find it? What is a table of contents? If I'm not old enough to read, okay, now we're going to learn that little area of helps, because I'm going to partner you as a big with someone who is little, and you're going to now learn patience and all of these things when that 6-year-old doesn't know how to get to Thessalonians, you know? So I don't know. There was a lot that I found helpful and a lot to teach from, even if there was no Bible passage to be talked about that Sunday, which would never happen. You know, there's so much to be taught just from pairing two kids up who are different and getting them to look at the Bible together.
I love that approach. I think that for me, the only function I can see that a Bible storybook could play is with just sort of as an adjunct or a fun thing to look at to help increase literacy, you know, with the stories. Mm-hmm. But in general, I always encourage parents, get them a real Bible. Mm-hmm. Like, don't even get them like one of those reader's Bibles or the Message. Get them like the NIV or the NLT. If they're doing Bible memory work, don't have them memorize the Message. First of all, can we just have a little plug here for the importance of Bible memory work? Like, knowing how to look things up in the Bible. Like, can we please just stop dumbing everything down? And let's just talk about that. But if we're going to have literacy, which has been a long part of the historic Christian faith, that Christians were readers and that we were people of the book.
And not just readers, but memorizers.
Yes.
You know, you get so many students in college who don't have a Bible verse memorized. You know, I'm like, no, you're in 3rd grade. I know you know how to memorize some things. Let's go on and work this out.
That's right. So, Rhyme His Songs is coming soon. The All the Things Bible. Lego's not included. Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah.
So, but I think that what's also important is two things that I think rarely happen, and that is reading aloud. When my older daughter, Emily, was little, I would have her listen to the Bible on CD every night as she would go to bed. And we did like the major stories of the Bible, like the whole book of Esther, or the first like 6 chapters of the book of Daniel, or the book of Ruth, or the crucifixion and the resurrection and the birth narratives. And we like picked certain key parts of the Bible, and she would listen to those over and over on the audio Bible before she could even adequately read. And it was amazing what her mastery of scripture became just because she was taking that in. And she really knows the Bible, and reading aloud, but also discussing it. Like one of my favorite things to do is talk about scripture with my kids. I love to ask Abby questions. Even today we were having a discussion as we were making dinner about what does the Bible say on a certain topic. Talk about things. Discuss them. What does this mean? How do you understand this? Because that is how you really build biblical literacy. Don't just rely on pretty pictures in a book. You've got to do the hard work as a parent in reading and talking these things through.
All right.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
No.
All right. Are we ready to?
That's it. My brain is thought out, I think.
I'm sorry.
It could be. No.
It's too much. I'm talking too much. All right. Check out the show notes.
Yeah.
For the show. We'll put some extra links and resources in there for everyone. And the big announcement. Oh, yes. There's the show notes graphic.
That's us.
With our favorite color.
Yeah.
And we're now on Instagram.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo!
Instagram. I don't have that graphic.
Oh, I thought I sent it to you.
You did. Hold on here.
Hold on.
We could be on Instagram, people. Maybe.
And we're at ATT Livestream on Instagram.
Yes.
We have a few posts. We're learning how to navigate all of that.
ATT Livestream on
Right,
the.
That's
on
okay.
the Instagram.
On the gram and
attlivestream@gmail.com. If you have any questions or thoughts you would like to email us that maybe you don't want to put on Facebook or YouTube.
Yes. And we also have a new video called, we'd love to have you check out, is how to have more positive, more productive conversations about race. I think we had like 13 somethings about having better conversations. I don't know if we have that graphic either. We don't have it ready. Okay. That's all right. We'll put it in the show notes. It'll be fabulous.
Everything is in the show notes, folks.
Yes.
Everything is in the show notes.
All right. Once again, share the show and help to support us. Connect with us on social media.
Oh, I don't know if people know. I started a YouTube channel. Yes. Yes, I did. Oh, no, I did. I the last time we were on, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So go subscribe to The Real Monique.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And, yeah, I'm going to do a new video soon and put it up there.
I'm trying to encourage her to make some videos on her own and little ideas that she has. I'm like, yeah, that could be a video. That could be a thing.
It could be, but goodness.
All right. Also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Get the audio. Take us with you.
Yes.
Everywhere you go.
Yes. Register for WIA.
Yes.
We would love to see you.
Yes. And that one we have. Yes, it's coming soon. Now's the time to get the best price. So go there. It's going to be some awesome speakers. Round up the teenagers in your life and bring them along. Oh, the tweet of the week. I forgot about that.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, we could do the tweet of the week. Yes, it is.
Oh,
we have something new.
Oh
my.
That one time when the world exploded.
Wow. You had worked on that.
I just attend. I just come here.
Okay,
just like you.
so the tweet of the week is, I won my bracket again for the March Madness.
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this is? I never heard of March Madness.
I don't have any idea. Some guy runs this Twitter page where he does face-offs between apologists, and some of them, quite frankly, are like the Sophie's Choice of determinations. Like they had this earlier this week, they had Bill Craig against JP Moreland. Like really?
I don't know who Sophie is.
Oh, it's an old 80s movie.
Oh, okay. JP Moreland was at Biola when I was there.
And Bill Craig's also there now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just two very famous philosophers. And
examples of some choices.
Yeah. And earlier they had one of our friend Natasha Crane against Hillary, the mama bear gal. Hillary Ferrer. It's like, why would you put those two gals against each other? That's brutal. So, anyways, they have these. Oh, there's my friend Ken Samples, and so they have these March Madness brackets, and then you have a face-off between you and another apologist. Bob says I'm like out of 100 and something. I'm number 43 or
42.
42. Yeah, there I am. 42. So, that was the big event in my life this week. Was I won my next March Madness bracket.
So does this go all the way until March?
I have no idea.
Yeah, during March Madness, they're going to, I guess, have the top 64 or 128 to, you get the vote and everything. So you're in the top 128 or something. So.
All right.
Do you get something if you win? Inquiring minds want to know.
Bragging rights.
You know, I beat out Bill Craig. I don't know. So far,
a lot of good people in
there's a lot of good people. It's just a fun way of putting people's names out there who are apologists and highlighting different people, big names, little names. I'm just the little fish in a big pond.
Oh.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was it. All right. So this, my friends, concludes the show. Boy, it was a lot. But we were off for 2 weeks.
We were. People, we have had a lot of discussions. I keep wanting to look over there, but I should be looking here.
Yeah.
Sorry, people.
All right, my friends. Thanks for watching. And we enjoy spending our Saturday nights with you. And we do hope that you will share the show with a friend and that you enjoyed eavesdropping on all of our crazy conversations, especially the part about race. We look forward to your comments, your feedback. We love seeing it all. So thank you so much. We'll see you, God willing, next week. Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye.
There's nothing